Hey, welcome back. So, the other thing we talked about at the Bible study, just like one more quick thing, was like science, because it turns out, and I like that I was able to talk about this, and I like these people, these two other people that were there. They're good people. I don't want to make them out to be like bad people or whatever, because they're not. We got into a discussion about like science, and I was like, I guess I was kind of surprised that they were a little more not anti-science, but just like, well, they asked me, do you believe in evolution and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't really even think about it. I was just like, yeah, of course I do. And then they had a reaction like, oh, I guess I didn't expect that, but I'm glad. I don't know, it was still a good interaction and a good experience, and we had a good discussion about it. Like, I was able to actually talk a little bit, and they talked intelligently about their position and what they thought, and I liked it. I liked that. It was good. The thing they brought up, which is I 100% agree with, is that like science is constantly changing, and like we don't know. Like, if we believe in the Bible, I think they are, and I kind of said this, but I didn't really make it clear. Like, I'm not a literalist. I don't believe that. And I guess I was kind of afraid to say this because one of the guys is like, I don't know, I wouldn't know how to rebut this argument. He was like, everything in the Bible is connected. So like, if you don't believe in the Jonah story or whatever, then you don't believe Jesus because Jesus references the Jonah story. Which is true. Kind of. It's the argument of like, you can't pick and choose what you like about the Bible. You have to accept all of it. And to an extent, I kind of don't agree with that. Well, I guess my interpretation of it is just, here's what I said, and I like that I said this. I don't think that science was important to Moses or to God at that point to reveal us truths about science. God wasn't concerning himself with teaching us about evolution and the Big Bang Theory or gravity or whatever. What he was revealing to Moses was more of a spiritual truth, obviously, because it's a religion and it's spirituality, and Moses didn't even know about the scientific method, right? So what's he going to learn about science that he's going to put in the book? It's not a science book. It's a spiritual book. So there are no factual scientific theories in the Bible, and and one of the people said like, he actually believes that science proves the existence of God, which I that was one of the only times where I kind of said something that directly contradicted him, because most of the time I was like nodding my head like, yeah, I totally agree, and I mostly agreed with like everything they were saying. But one time he said, I said, the Bible can't prove God, because that's not the point of religion, and there wouldn't be any faith otherwise, right? If science came out and was just like, oh, God's real. But he said that he believed that science proves the existence of God and Jesus, and I don't. I said, I feel like there's three different reactions to science and religion. There's the person who says science is totally bad. The pursuit of science, which is mostly nobody, because these are the people who put Copernicus in jail. The people who are like, anything that science comes out with that disagrees with the Bible is bad, and scientists are bad because they're trying to blaspheme God or whatever, which is pretty much nobody today. Then you have people who, like this guy, who say like science and God can mix, because like science, which I kind of agree with, because God created science, so it's like everything points back to God. So like if you really look at the science, you'll believe in God because it's like proof. Science is proof of God, and that's not me. I'm the third thing, which is that science and religion are kind of separate. I mean, everything's mixed because all your experiences are mixed in your brain. But to me, science and spirituality are two separate. Science is the pursuit of knowable knowledge, and spirituality is the pursuit of unknowable knowledge, the pursuit of the unknown, some things that you can't know. You can't know if God exists. You can't know if heaven is real. You can't know if he hears your prayers. You can't really know. So spirituality is like the pursuit of that. Like, why did my dad die? There's no reason for it. Spirituality is the pursuit of that knowledge. Science isn't going to tell you why your dad died. It can tell you how he died. I guess it can kind of like, if he jumped in front of a train, it can be like, okay, he died from trauma. He got hit by a train. But then you say like, why? Why did he jump in front of the train? Well, because he had a mental illness. But like, why did he have a mental illness? Like, if some other people don't have mental illnesses, why did my dad have to have a mental illness? That's when you start to get into like, well, I can't answer that. Ask God. So yeah, we had some good disagreements and some good talks. I was surprised that I don't know, I guess I thought that they would be like, oh yeah, evolution. They believe in like an actual Adam and Eve and like a 6,000 year Earth, I guess. One of the guys brought up something interesting, which I hadn't thought about it like this. He said basically that he believes that when God created the universe, he was basically starting a story. So like when you start a story, some of the characters are like 30 years old, right? But on page 1. So God is the author of the universe. So if he wanted to create the universe, like to create humans and stuff, he could create the whole universe and create trees that were 1,000 years old, or like 10,000 years old, even though the Earth is 6,000 years old, because he's the author and he's starting on page 1, which is 6,000 years ago. Even though there are things before that, the story starts on page 1, which I thought was kind of interesting. I never heard it that way. I don't think I don't have to make that many logical leaps for me to believe. I'm just like, well, the universe is 14 billion years old. It's fine with me, because science doesn't contradict God. I don't need to get my science mixed with my God. You got your science and my God. You got your God and my science. If I really believe in God, which of course I do because I'm a Christian, right? I believe that God created evolution. I've mentioned this before. This is what I think. God never breaks his own rules. God created the universe with rules. And he doesn't break them because why would he? He would just go back to the beginning and create a new rule to make it work the way he wants. Or change the rule to be like, okay, this rule doesn't work because he's outside of time. Why would he just like fix it in the middle? Doesn't make sense to me. So if he needs to create people, he uses evolution. And that's his tool for how he does it. He can't break the law. He can break the laws of physics, but he doesn't need to, and he has no reason to do it. There may be laws of physics that we don't know yet, and we could say like, oh, that seems supernatural. But it's just a law yet that we don't understand. And I did mention, I'm realizing how much I talked, and I did say a lot of stuff that I liked. Like, oh, I'm glad, and I think that's why overall I viewed this as like a positive experience, because I was able to be me and say my opinions, and I'm never able to do that. And I was even able to do it with people who kind of disagreed. I mean, they were really nice and about it, and they weren't like, well, you believe in evolution, that's stupid. And I wasn't like, you don't believe in evolution, that's stupid. And I don't know, just like talking to them, I understood their point of view and where they were coming from. So I didn't think they were being stupid. If you pressed me on it, I still don't think I would agree with what they were saying. But they were a little bit more anti-science, kind of, than I was expecting. Because, well, here's one thing. I thought about this, like, on the drive home. I was like, I should have said this. They understand the importance of science. But they did seem to come from the perspective of, like, well, the Bible truth is, like, more important than, like, whatever science. Because science is constantly changing. And I understand that point, and I agree with the sentiment, but I was thinking, like, well, if an asteroid is coming towards Earth, would you trust the scientists to stop it or the priests? Would you trust, like, people just, I don't know, praying or, like, doing a rain dance or something to stop the asteroid, or would you trust the best science available to stop it? The answer is obviously, even though the scientists may not be perfectly right about everything, you trust them to come up with the best answer to solve that problem, a science problem. I don't trust the scientists to come up with philosophical answers to why did my dad die. They're not going to help me there for the most part. But whatever. See you tomorrow.